饮水。So, due to the accomplishment of these three realizations, the disciple yogi attained the transformation of the base. This is a typical Yogacara impressions. You don't find it, or very rare in other traditions. So the culmination of the path is the Ashraya Paravriti, the transformation of the base. So the base becomes pure, the mind becomes pure. As a result of it, he can transcend the bondage of the mental impressions and thus remove the grossness of his base. Call it alaya or call it nama rupa. Nama rupa means mentality and corporeality. This is the base of all our experience. It can only be done in virtue of the non-differentiating wisdom, nirvikalpa jnana, woof and Piaget, which keeps on ripening in his mind as he attains progressively a higher mastery of meditation and leaves the 12 kinds of mental perversions behind him. We have 3 kinds of perversion: perversion of the view, perversion of the perception, perversion of the differentiating mind. So the perversion of the view you abandon in the path of seeing, no matter whether as a disciple or as a bodhisattva. When you have seen directly, experienced directly the suchness in a non-dualistic way, you attain the first bodhisattva bhumi according to the traditional Buddhism, according to first asamkhyeya. No, actually, according to the first asamkhyeya, you practice the sambara, the ziliang tao. Then you practice the jiaxin tao, and only in the third asamkhyeya you start practicing the bodhisattva, higher and higher realizations. So it is a long process for the bodhisattva, but for the one who wants to attain the nirvana in a dualistic sense, he can attain this stage quite fast. Now we have seen that the peculiarity of the Yogacara is it explains also the Shravaka path, the path of the disciples, on the base of the Yogacara. He goes beyond the mental impression. The mental impressions is what? It's the objects that we experience, inner and outer. And the perversion of the perception and the perversion of the differentiation you can only abandon when you become an arahant. The slight perversion is even in the higher stages because these ideas of self is very, very deep rooted. Even so, you don't have the differentiating ignorance, you have the spontaneous ignorance. Jishan Wuming. In the first stage of realization, you abandon the Fen Pie Wuming. But the Jishan Wuming is still there as long as you have not abandoned the perversion of the Xiang, of the perception, and of the differentiating mind. So there are two kinds of transformation of the base. This is very important. That of the disciples, based on turning the mind away from the samsaric flow of existence. How do you train in the Shravaka way? You turn by observing the impermanence as being something real. So we have explained before, in the Mahayana path, the impermanence is not to be considered as it is there, but it is based on the pianchi, because we believe the outer objects to be real and to have a self-existent nature. The Rupa has self-existent nature, the Nama differentiating, they have self-existent nature. So you contemplate impermanence as a suffering, as non-self. Then you are disenchanted from impermanence. You viraga, liyi, you detach from the impermanence. And finally, in this way you can realize the highest reality. So you can go beyond impermanence. When you attain, of course, the Wu Yu Nyepan, as long as you are Arahat is alive, he is in Yo Yu Nyepan. The 5 aggregates are impermanent even for the Arahat. It is based on correct differentiation. So we have, in the beginning, please repeat it, see it again. In the beginning, we have explained the difference between the Yogacara analysis and the Abhidharma analysis. For the Abhidharma analysis, the worldly reality is what? Table, man, woman. For the Yogacara, the worldly reality are the aggregates. This is a difference. Then, in order to understand the highest, you have to have a yukti, the logic, li. For the Shravakas, the logic or the li is understanding the aggregates, and so on. The 12 bases, 18. But for the Bodhisattva, what is the logic? The four noble truths, it is only logic, and logic can only be worldly reality. Then for the bodhisattvas, the realization is the non-self of all the phenomena. For the disciples, the realization is the Four Noble Truths, not the logic. And the ultimate reality for the bodhisattva is yi fa jie. Only one. For the Arahat, it is Nirvana. So emphasis, as we have explained, has shifted from the realization of the selflessness in person to the selflessness of all the phenomena. And the highest realization is yi fa jie. So the for the Yogacara and for the Mahayana, the five aggregates, impermanence of the five aggregates is the correct differentiation in the worldly reality. In the worldly reality. Correct differentiation in the worldly reality. So by differentiation, if it is correct, then it can remove the all the defilements leading to the new life, but it does not abandon all the seeds, all these shi-chi in the alaya. So the Juan-yi is not completed. It does not remove all seeds from the alaya consciousness because these habits are still there. Only they do not lead to defilements. It enables the mind to discard the karma leading to a new existence. This is the aim of the Arahat, to discard all the karma leading to the new existence. But for him, the differentiation is the base for this. So is the Yogacara idea. Anyway, these are only concepts. So make sure you don't get too much attached to them. The greatness of the Chinese Buddhism is precisely in the syncretic ability. They were able to see from many different points of view, rather than putting one concept down, integrate it into the higher concept. The transformation of the base of the Bodhisattva, which enables the non-differentiating knowledge to eradicate all seeds in the alaya consciousness. When the all seeds are eradicated in the alaya consciousness, what will happen? You become a Dharmakaya. Thus, a Bodhisattva yogi accomplishes a complete transformation of the differentiating consciousness into wisdom. This Dharmakaya is nothing but the Fa-shin, Fa-jie, leading to a gradual attainment of the Dharma body by means of the practice of skillful means of transcendental wisdom. Actually, not only transcendental wisdom, you have to add bodhicitta, fasting, tape, but the non-attaining is the most important, of course. That is the transcendental wisdom. Nothing in our experience we can attain. So the practice is the same, 37 causes of enlightenment, starting with the 4 foundations of mindfulness. What is the foundation of body in the Yogacara? Body cannot be attained. What is the foundation of the sensation? Sensation cannot be attained. What is the foundation of the mind? Mind cannot be attained. And what is the foundation of the dharmas? The dharmas cannot be attained. They can be attained. In what reality? In the worldly reality only. This is the bodhisattva practice. But you cannot be not misguided about the highest reality unless you penetrated the worldly reality as it really is. So it is very important. There is a misunderstanding. You study Mahayana, you don't need to practice understanding permanence, you don't need to, or maybe just the concept is enough. But actually this is not a Yogacara view. You should understand it, penetrate it. But stay in the world, because you have understood the transcendental wisdom. And the transcendental wisdom, to understand, you don't need to go very far. You contemplate the nature of the mind. The nature of the mind can only loom in the mind when you understand the mind. When you understand, you have to understand the mental factors, you have to understand the mind, you have to understand the objects of the mind. But when you understand them, they will lead you to the conclusion that nothing of this can be held. Nothing of this can become a real object, because you understand it thoroughly, not just by theory, but by meditation. Then you get the realization. And what is this realization? Faren. The endurance in regard to Dharma. What Dharma? The dependent origination based on the Pianchi has never arisen. So it is the non-arousing Dharma. It is accomplished by penetrating the revealing function of the alaya consciousness that manifests all kinds of forms based on seeds in it. So this is the xiangfen we have explained. The 4 elements, the rupa connected with the 4 elements, it is translated as derived from the 4 elements, but this is not a really good translation. It should be translated connected to the 4, or based in the 4 elements, not derived. Why? Because it exists together. In one kalapa, we have already explained, you have the four elements, color, smell, all these basic percepts you have in one single unit. They arise in the same place, same kalapa, and disappear in the same place, the same kalapa. And the kalapa is a mental object only. This is recognized even in the Theravada tradition. Same. It is a mental object because it can be disintegrated into the constituent parts. So it is not real. In Abhidharma, whatever you can break cannot be real. This comes in Abhidharma Kosha also. What is real? That which you cannot break. That which you can break by logic or by hand, physically, that cannot be existent Dharma. So it is Dharma which appears, and when you meditate on the four elements, it disappears. No more kalapa there. When you disintegrate into constituent parts, no more kalapa there. Same like the body. When you analyze into constituent parts, no more body. So what is body? A mental impression. What is kalapa? A mental impression. The revealing function of the consciousness that manifests all kinds of forms based on seeds in it, due to the traces of verbalization sown in the mind by the differentiating consciousness. What is differentiating consciousness? The Tianfen. These are the mental factors. The consciousness, according to Yogacara, can only see the general aspect of the object. It is the mental factors which differentiate the individual aspects of the objects. So you get differentiation by the service of these mental factors. And these mental factors, same like the constituent parts of the rupa, they all have different function, contradictory function. How can they appear together in one place? The answer of Alankavatara Sutra, same, because of emptiness, because of their emptiness. None of them has any self-existent nature. According to the Yogacara, a bodhisattva in his meditation practice distinguishes and uses three kinds of wisdom. A wisdom based on words and syllables, which is very important. Actually, when you read Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra, you will find that you have when and e. According to Chishulun, Abhidharma Kosha, the when so Cheng Zhihui, the wisdom based on hearing, only distinguishes the meaning according to the words. The wisdom of contemplation can according to the words and also not according to the words directly. And the wisdom of contemplation, wisdom of meditation does not need words anymore. This is Abhidharma Kosha. It gives example like swimming. You learn to swim. So first you need some ring to let you float on the water. When you swim. When you start swimming, sometimes you rely on the ring, sometimes you throw it away. That is like wisdom by contemplation. And when you can swim, you don't need any ring anymore. So you can swim and swim and swim and cross the river to the other shore. And what is swimming according to the agamas? The jhanas, samadhi. But in the Yogacara, a different view. Even in the meditative wisdom, you can use the words, can use the concept, and may not use the concept according to your wish. This is very important. Now you have learned that objects of meditation, also the skandhas, they can be object of shamatha and also the object of vipassana. Depends how you make them in mind, as a non-differentiated image or the differentiated image. If you make them a non-differentiated image, they become the object of shamatha. This is a difference. But you don't use these concepts or realities as they are in Abhidharma as the object of shamatha. You use them as object of vipassana. You normally use only concepts as the object of shamatha. The only exception is the meditation of the four elements. Four elements are not a concept in Abhidharma. So very interesting how the meaning of Buddhism changes according to the way you look at the things, according to the way you differentiate. So, what is the conclusion? Whatever you differentiate can only be the worldly reality. But the worldly reality, you have to penetrate. When you have completely penetrated it, then the worldly reality and the highest reality become one. Now, what is the criticism of Madhyamika to Yogacara? When you read the Madhyamika literature, what is the criticism? You take the skandhas as the worldly reality, you take the ayatanas as a worldly reality, the dhatus, the chu, the kye as a worldly reality, but the common man does not see it like that. But for the Yogacharas, they are the worldly reality. The correct worldly reality. The table and so on, these things, they do not exist as even as the worldly reality. Because whatever you can break, that cannot be real, even in the worldly reality. So it is very important to see how the emphasis shifts, how these original concepts are accepted in a brighter perspective, in the perspective of the non-real existence of anything that can be identified by the differentiated mind. It does not mean that it does not exist. It exists, but only in the worldly reality. Wisdom based on words and syllables, it is very important for Yogacara, because even according to the Sandhya Mochana Sutta, even in the meditation, you can use these concepts, no problem. You can use them for shamatha, you can use them for vipassana, according to your need. Wisdom based on illuminating the concepts by means of the 6 and 7 consciousness. This is for them the contemplative wisdom, and the wisdom in regard to the true characteristics of the phenomena based on the 8 consciousness. Why? Because in the base 8 consciousness everything starts. This karmic consciousness, Zichengfen, becomes the Tianfen, Kenxiangfen, and this is all we experience. And the mystery of the mind is to be found in the Zichengfen. And when you are in Samadhi, what do you experience? Everything only comes from mind. And in the mind, it becomes, you become very well aware how it becomes the Jianfen and Xiangfen. Because like in a dream, there is no real outer object in the Samadhi. So this is why this alaya consciousness is the royal way to the non-dualistic realization. What means non-dualistic realization? The non-reality of any phenomena you make in the mind. Because of that, the objects of the Bodhisattva wisdom become gradually unlimited. While he meditates on the mind being like the space, being like the mirror, just reflecting the object. And just like in the mirror just reflects the object but does not take the object. You cannot grasp any object in the mirror, only the reflection of the object. So in the mind you also cannot grasp any object, only the reflection of the object. So these mental factors which determine how we experience the object are like the magnets, and the mind is like the iron. suck it in. This is the Lankavatara Sutra comparison. Actually, it compares it to the winds, which are the Xiangfen. But the Xiangfen exists because of the Tianfen. First, there is the Yeshe, the karmic consciousness, and there is a Zhuanshe. There can be Xiangshe, the revealing consciousness. Because of that, the objects of the Bodhisattva wisdom become gradually unlimited, while according to the Yogacara understanding, the object of the one practicing with the motivation of becoming just an Arahat, such a yogi has a limited sphere of wisdom, limited sphere of meditation object. Why? Because he has already defined them. But the Yogacara meditation, you don't define anything as a real. You only define everything as the skillful means to penetrate the worldly reality. When you have penetrated the worldly reality, its reality is not there, not anymore. Then everything becomes only one reality. We have explained that objects of the shamatha and vipassana meditation are the same object in this tradition. We have explained that before. The four all-inclusive objects. You have learned the Fen Pie Yin Xiang, Wu Fen Pie Yin Xiang, Shi Pian Ji, and Karya Nishpati. Suo Zuo Chen Pan. The five objects for the purification of the conduct, you had them also. They are called in the northern tradition the Wu Ting Xin. First you have to have the Wu Ting Xin, then you can have the Jia Xin Tao. Right? The Jia Xin Tao has to have samadhi. So you have had then the Puqing Quan, Ci Xin Quan, Teng Teng, I don't need to explain again. The five skillful means, you have had them also, Yin, Chu, Jie, Yen, Qi, can, possible and not possible, Bhavya, Abhavya. Then objects of the purification of defilement, either in the way of using the mundane objects. The mundane meditation is the meditation of experiencing more and more subtle object, more and more subtle sensation, because there is no object without sensation. So by experiencing more subtle object, you experience the more subtle sensation. Or the way of the supermundane path, meditation on the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths. The shamatha part of the practice, based on the non-differentiated mental image has been explained in some detail already. Now we need to explain the Vipassana practice based on the differentiated mental image. So this is our 2 days job. According to the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, you will find it in many places also. Xianyang, Shen Jiao, and many other works. So a disciple yogi has in his practice with a differentiated image 6 bases of investigation. They are called Vastu, Shi, Shiqing de Shi, Liu Shi. The meaning expressed by language, that is, in meditation, he contemplates all expressed by language as being fabricated reality. It is devoid of own characteristics. It does not have any real characteristic. Wu Zhen Xiang. What's going on? Nothing. Then, when you have investigated the meaning expressed by language, then you investigate the real base. In order that there really is something, you have to have the 6 inner bases, the outer bases. So you get the touch. When there is a touch, the 5 aggregates appear. When the 5 aggregates appear, they are the 12 spheres, the 18 elements, dependent origination, 4 noble truths. All the objects of wisdom can appear. And the Vipassana Yogacara has the same idea. This is difference with Madhyamika. The Vipassana you should practice on the real objects. They have characteristics, but they are all not real. You cannot, they are not self-existent. So that means quantai, the relativity. So when you have the real basis, you have the real base for relativity. And the relative is the nature of the worldly experience. The worldly experience cannot go beyond the relative. You have to understand the highest in order to understand what can go beyond the relative. Going beyond the relative does not mean abandoning the relative. This is very important. So when you have the base, then you can define the characteristics, the special characteristics and the common characteristics. Impermanence, suffering of impermanence, the emptiness, non-self, and so on. Then this is peculiar of the Yogacara tradition. I have asked the Tibetan teachers in Tibet. Still, this shamatha meditation according to Yogacara is a living tradition, but this vipassana meditation is not, even in Tibet, is not anymore a living tradition. So it is very very useful for making a clear concept, but when you actually observe the impermanence, you have no time to think all these aspects. It is just for intellectual understanding. So make sure you understand it clearly. So whatever object you need in the mind to get rid of the defilements, which is the aim of the path. If you have greed, the non-beautiful object, if you have hate, then the metta, and so on, then you have the bright side and the dark side of the investigation. Investigation means what object you put in the mind and how you put it in the term of the differentiated image or non-differentiated image. So it is the same, like the same word in Sanskrit, like the bright side of the moon and the dark side of the moon. So you take the same object, but you can take it to illumine your mind, but you can take it to make your mind dark, increase your ignorance. Suppose you take into the mind the object of impurities, you observe the 32 or 36 parts of the body to get disenchanted from the body, not to hold too much to your girlfriend or to whatever, to your boyfriend, not to grasp it too much, not to want to possess it. Now, if you are on the bright side, then it will work. It will illumine your mind. I should not be grasping. If you're on the dark side, it won't illumine your mind. You still will be grasping. So you have not done the job. So it is useful intellectually, but normally in meditation, you don't. It is a useful concept. So you evaluate the objects from the point of view of the virtue of using this object, like the non-beautiful object for getting rid of your possessive mind, metta for getting use of your anger, and so on. So this is a virtue of the object. Now if you have a greed and you put a non-suitable object into your mind, then of course you are on the dark side, which is incorrect application. So concentrated attention to impure object leads to abandoning of sensual grasping, to aggregates, to understanding their selfless nature, etc. So next is time. That whatever you can grasp in the mind, it has a past, it has a present, and it has a future. Only that object that you cannot grasp is free from time. So all that we can grasp, the 5 aggregates, the 12 spheres of perception, the 18 elements, the dependent origination, all that appears in the Chitta Santati, in the continuity. Continuity means 3 times. And it appears because of the cause, and the cause in the Yogacara are the seeds in the consciousness, of course. This is the yin yuan. Because of this yin yuan, all the other yuan, so yuan yuan, wu jian yuan, zhen yi yuan will naturally be there. The logic, this is the last, the li. And this is very important aspect. There is a lot of confusion about this. So the logic is based on the 4 principles or Taoli mentioned. That is Quantai, Zoyong, Zhencheng, Fa-Er. We have mentioned that before. These 6 bases of investigation are investigated in 4 stages. And now we come to the Vipassana. Actually, it is the old wine. You will find the same thing explained in the Abhidharma, but in a very different way. So this is advantage of the Yogacara, explaining the known concepts in a very different way. So when you have Yo Fen Pie Xiang in your mind, that means a mental image that you differentiate rather than a mental image that you keep in the mind the same in the past, present, and future. That's why you have the 3 times. In the shamatha, your effort is to keep the same image in the mind. In the vipassana, which Abhidharma Samuchaya says, the vipassana is based on the Shenjie Zoi. You determine, you change your mental image according to your need to investigate the different aspects described here. So you change your mental image with because you want to investigate its different aspects. But in shamatha, you stay with the same image. You don't change that image. So you first, when you have an image and you want to practice vipassana, you analyze that image using a concentrated differentiation to a differentiated mental image to investigate the special characteristics in terms of the worldly reality as far as it goes. Jin Suo Yo Shin, we have already explained. All that we experience in the worldly reality is in the terms of Jin Suo Yoshi. You cannot go beyond the five aggregates. If you see in the worldly reality anything except the five aggregates, then you are investigating non-existent object. And only the real objects have the real own characteristics, which are not really own, but they are own in the sense that whenever you have earth, there will be hardness or softness, there will be roughness or smoothness, heaviness or lightness. Whenever earth appears, these qualities will be there. They are earth qualities, but not possessed by the earth. They are not the own nature of the earth. Because whatever is created in dependent origination must be empty of the own nature, otherwise it cannot arise. Then you have a thorough analysis using a concentrated attention to investigate common characteristic of a differentiated image in terms of suchness. So first you have to know what is the aggregate of rupa, what is the element of earth. Then you can distinguish it in its impermanence. So suppose you have somebody ask me about the pain in meditation. So how do you deal with the pain? If you can use a non-differentiated image. When you concentrate it, all the other impressions go to the background, or you can use a differentiated image. When you concentrate on the pain, be it a knee or be it a shoulder, what will you experience? First, you investigate, vichinoti, analyze the own characteristics. You will experience hardness, you will experience softness, you will experience heat, you will experience the pushing sensation, right? So you are with your own characteristics. When you concentrate on the place of the hardness, it will very soon change into the place of pushing, and very soon will change into the heat. So you are pravichinoti. You are using a concentrated attention to differentiate the common characteristic. Aha, this all is impermanent, and this impermanence, very easy to see it as a pain, because you are investigating pain, you are actually having pain, and it is a non-self, so you can detach. Because you detach, you can endure. Because you can endure, the pain will go away. But if you concentrate on the pain as being something real, pain is just a mental image. A thorough, wise investigation using wisdom, a yogi investigates both special and common characteristics of the chosen object by a concentrated differentiate. So he brings wisdom into that. What is the nature of wisdom? The nature of wisdom is a detailed investigation. You put things together. That is the nature of wisdom. The Visuddhimagga has a very wonderful comparison. Small baby finds a 5 yuan piece, picks it up, knows it's very useful, but he does not know what to do with it because he never went shopping. He brings it to the mother. The mother sees 5 yuan, so knows I can buy this, I can buy that. But the mother not clear. If she wants to be clear, brings it to the one who is minting the coins. In the olden times was just silver with a stamp. So he places it in his hand, bites it, then finds out how much is silver, how much is gold, how much is iron, how much are other metals. So he finds the real value of the coin. So this is wisdom. Now you have differentiated the own characteristic and the common characteristic. Then the wisdom puts all this together, and what will be the conclusion? Nothing to grasp, because all this is compounded. Whatever is compounded disintegrates as soon as it appears. So detach. Then when you maintain your mind on the object, you go deeper and deeper into the experience of impermanence, suffering of impermanence, and the non-self nature of all that appears and disappears in the same moment. So you get the Vipassana Samadhi. When you get the Vipassana Samadhi, you see the things appearing, disappearing, moment by moment. And what is the true nature of the differentiated mental image? It has no self-nature whatsoever. So nothing that can be differentiated is worthy of grasping. You have to sustain your attention on the object to understand its alone. So actually the real Vipassana is this sustained investigation, which in the Yogacara is called Vichara. So the differentiated mental image as well as the non-differentiated mental image are investigated in terms of the 3 methods corresponding to the 3 kinds of wisdom. So first, and these 3 kinds of wisdom you use also for the differentiated image, and you use also for the non-differentiated image. It is explained in Sandhi-Nirmochana Sutra, Jieshen Mijing. By the wisdom from hearing, a yogi investigates by a concentrated attention a mental image only based on language. So he investigates the object, how it appears based on language, the meaning of the language. the meaning of the concept, the meaning of the word, the meaning of the syllables. By the wisdom from contemplation, having grasped that image with a concentrated attention, he thinks about it and weighs it. In his mind, weighs it in his mind in terms of the 6 bases of investigation that we have explained. By wisdom from meditation, having investigated the object, he sustains his concentrated attention on it in order to penetrate completely its nature. So when he has completely penetrated his nature, what does he penetrate it? Nothing to grasp. Finally, it's only an image. When you are in samadhi, you can understand it very clearly. Finally, the objects of the samadhi are only mental images. If you are not in samadhi, very difficult to understand. So now you will find, as I have said, it's very useful to study different traditions. You will find the same ideas expressed in a different way. So you, in the Majjhima Nikaya, you have the Chula Vedala Sutta, this famous female arahat, very wise woman, one of the great female practitioners in the time of Buddha. Her husband, the Chitta, was also a very great practitioner. And they both, husband and wife, after she renunciated, they were still great friends. And her husband admired her very much and encouraged her to meditate. And she became an arahat, and he became an anagami. And they exchanged some of the sutras, is exchange of ideas, and especially he asks, because he's also very well versed in meditation, he asks Dhammadipa questions and Dhammadipa replies. And Buddha praises her answers. If he asked me, I would explain the same, he says. So, according to Dhammadipa, which is approved by the Buddha, at the end of the sutta, or in the commentary, you will find it. Shamatha practice means understanding the object of meditation by its function without being deluded by its nature. So we have had also the 5 objects for purification of the conduct, right? You use them in order to purify your mind on this object, and you should not be deluded about their nature. You understand there are still aggregates, they are still in the impermanence. So the samadhi with a worldly object cannot bring the real liberation of the mind, only suppression of the defilements, but not uprooting the defilements. While the vipassana means understanding the object of meditation by penetrating this characteristic. This is what is explained by these 4 stages. By penetrating the characteristic, by differentiating the objects. So you can combine them together and you get a complete picture. So these Yogacara ideas, they are all based on the Agamas, but using the different language, he explained more or less the same thing. So according to Theravada, you have two kinds of dhyana, two kinds of samadhi. Samadhi based on object, which is shamatha samadhi, and the samadhi based on the characteristics of the object, which is the vipassana samadhi. So these two samadhis, when you combine in a skillful way, you can get the liberation. The shamatha and vipassana will merge together on a supermundane object. The difference is that in the bodhisattva path, even so you are not yet realized, you contemplate the objects of the mind of the arahat being the real mind, but you don't become the arahat. But in the Theravada tradition, you can only understand the middle way, which is based on the object you cannot grasp. If you have an object you can grasp, you can only have an intellectual understanding of the middle way. You cannot have the penetration of the middle way. This is very often object of misunderstanding. Only when you have an object you cannot grasp, you can uproot the defilements. If you have an object that you can grasp, you can only suppress the defilements. As long as the samadhi is there, the defilements will not arise. The samadhi and defilements don't come together, dhyana. But when you go out of dhyana, they will be there. So the dhyana is not enough. You have to get the dhyana on the object you cannot grasp. Then you can realize a middle path and uproot the defilements. So these are called the three Sanmei men. Kung, Wuyan, Wuxiang. The samadhi, they become one. If you understand them as one, you get the great realization. And how to understand them as one? Using the Yogacara method. What is the Yogacara method? The Pianchi is Kung. The Itachi is Wuyuan. And the Yuan Chen is the Wuxiang. The three come together, but depends on your meditation which aspect you emphasize. But they come together. The three realities are real. When you see them together, you get the realization. We don't see them together. Therefore, we don't get the direct realization of the suchness, non-dualistic suchness. And what is the skillful means of seeing them together? This Pianchi is Wuxiang, Itachi is Wushan, and this Yuan Chen is the real nature. Is a real Wu. Okay, we have 8 o'clock. We did not get to the lecture number 10. We will get to it the next time. And not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I will write the questions so that you can prepare. And don't be worried, I won't let fail anyone. I just want you to get interested and do some more reading on your own, and maybe next time we will continue going into more practical aspects of the Yogacara, how to meditate on the mind. Okay, so let us transfer the merit and see you on the 12th. But on the 10th, 11th and 13th will be public lectures. And in the public lectures, I will summarize and use some different perspective about what I'm teaching you now. So please also see these lectures, and also if you want to compare with Theravada, I have been teaching the meditative side of the Theravada in the last course 2 years ago. So you will find definitely in the Buddhist department, Kate will give you some reference you can find in computer and you can study it. If you don't find that, I think I have it in the computer somewhere. I can send it. If Taoyuan will help me. So now let us transfer the merit. 愿以此功德普济一切，我等一众生皆共成佛道。Okay, bye bye. See you.